Hello and welcome to my 3.5 Elementalist build guide. I'm fairly new to video build guide, so you'll have to bear with me while I go through this. My mic isn't the best, but it should suffice. I'm just going to run this G11 shaped canyon to demonstrate how it works. Canyon is one of the best maps for this build just because it's very linear, but also like dense enough that arc will change between everything. And see that couple screens down, enemies died. That's the entire idea of the build, that you just press ball arc and things do not survive for a couple screens. It's designed around clear speed, however, it does still have viable single target for betrayal content as well as map content.
Consider us even.
Ball arc doesn't always go the direction you want it to, but such is life. RNG take the wheel. There's the map. For our gear and passives, I swapped over to Path of Building. So on the passive tree, this is my current passive tree. Essentially the idea as this build is you pick up as much fire damage and lightning damage as possible on the tree while pathing past a bunch of life and mana to increase your survivability through Mind Over Matter. We do pick up Elemental Overload and Elemental Equilibrium to increase our burn damage as well. And we also path through a bit of effective shock to increase the elementalist shocks against bosses. As an ascendancy choice, we obviously pick up Beacon of Ruin to allow our shocks to spread between enemies. We use Ignite Proliferation, so you don't really need the Ignite to proliferate through Beacon of Ruin. However, the chills and shocks proliferating are a big boon. I also choose to go to Elemancer as my secondary choice on the ascendancy tree to make myself elemental status immune. It also means that we get a nice little jump of about 70% increased damage, a little bit more than that, through our 3 golems. There are a few jewel sockets on the tree. The jewels I currently have are absolute garbage, but should I choose to invest more, or should you choose to invest more, there is room to grow through those spots. Swapping over to gear now, the only really piece of mandatory gear is the Stonefile Opal Ring, which has this important last line of your lightning damage can ignite, which allows our arc to ignite without dealing any fire damage. It also has a nice 6% increased burning damage for each time you've shocked a non-shocked enemy recently, which basically just means that we have about like 300% increased burning damage while clearing all the time, which is a very nice buff. I am using a bunch of pretty garbage gear that I picked up for maybe like 10 to 5C each at most, because I was using this as a league starter, so I was just trying to get up to red maps and clear them as fast as possible on as short of a budget as possible. However, the only thing that I am using that is pretty much best in slot is this Scepter, which I got for about 50C, which was a steal. I expected to be more than that when you guys find it, but it has this mod from the Temple, which is 79% increased lightning damage, as well as a ton of lightning damage spells, coupled with burning damage on it, and an elemental damage implicit, which all stacks together to increase our burning damage on arc. I also crafted this 5% chance to deal double damage myself, which does not show up on our tooltip DPS, however in-game you will notice it because every once in a while your arc will just deal double damage to a boss, which significantly increases your DPS. Using the Gold Raven Mask, which is a personal favorite of mine. It creates these lesser shrines, so Acceleration Shrine, Giant Shrine. Really nice. It's not best in slot or anything, however, I personally really enjoy the mask. My jewels are pretty awful. Just some stuff I picked up while leveling. Wasn't going to invest too much in this build myself. However, should you like to invest a ton yourself and really make this build go to the max, you can buy these fairly expensive items and really just destroy mapping. So in your shield, you'd want something like Esh's Mirror, which adds lightning damage to your spells for each shocked enemy you've killed recently. So since you are shocking everything and then proliferating those shocks, you're shocking just the entire screen. And so you're getting hundreds and hundreds of kills recently added onto this, which greatly increases your map clear speed. Impulses, obviously really great for this build. You increase the effect of your shocks as well as make enemies explode. This is Legacy, so ignore that. It's always 5% of their maximum life is lightning damage now. However, it's still amazing because that 5% will ignite enemies even if it can't shock, which means that they're all going to burn to death anyway. It's a huge boost to clear speed, however it is like a couple exalts right now, which wasn't worth my time because I was using it as a league start. Darkness Enthroned, obviously like best in slot belt for pretty much every build. Amazing. Onto the skill loadout. This is the setup I recommend for Arc. Obviously level 21 Vol Arc is very nice, however again it's expensive so you don't need it, but it does add another chain to your arcs and stuff, so it's very nice. So Deadly Amulet's Burning Damage, Combustion, Ignite, Proliferation, those are pretty obvious. If you just go through the list you'll see that those make the most sense. However, you'll notice that Path of Building recommends Swift Affliction over Unbound Ailments, whereas I pretty much always choose Unbound Ailments, because Swift Affliction will reduce the duration of your ignites, whereas Unbound Ailments will increase the duration. So even if it's less DPS shown on Path of Building, it's very likely that in-game you'll actually see more DPS from your arcs. It also increases your your level of clear, because the longer duration arcs mean that you can press the button once and expect everything to die. Whereas a shorter duration means that your burn does less one-tap damage, basically. For supporting skills, I use Flame Dash as my movement along with faster casting and enhance to make it go a little bit faster and reduce the cooldown a bit. And I use Flammability as my curse. I cast it myself because you have plenty of time to do that, and reserving mana or doing anything else with it is really just like a waste of mana and a waste of gem sockets. Your ignites last 5 seconds, so you can hit an enemy with ignite and then easily curse them within the 5 seconds without really losing any DPS. I use Scorching Ray spell totems to increase my fire damage because they do strip enemy resistances. However, the spell totems and multiple totems do act as sort of meat shields against bosses, and you'll notice many times bosses are targeting the Scorching Ray totems rather than yourself. Clarity, just because mind over matter, and it adds a nice bit of mana regen, and then my three golems linked to minion life. The golems, you could do a different setup with your golems, but realistically I'm only taking the golems for my elemental immunity, so nice golem, a lightning golem, and a flame golem for myself is plenty. And minion life just makes it so they last longer. This is the calcs page for the build. You can go to it yourself on your own Path of Building by importing my build if you'd like to see it yourself. However, I will caution you that the Ignite DPS listed on Path of Building is not actually very indicative of the Ignite DPS you'll be seeing in game. The way Path of Building calculates ignites, which is one of my big gripes with Path of Building actually, is that it calculates it based on the average damage of the hit, rather than like the upper 75% damage of the hit. Because you're hitting multiple times with arc, because you're casting multiple times, you should expect that the first cast, if you only press arc once, you'll get this DPS. However, since you're casting multiple times over this 7-second duration, you can reasonably expect that your ignite is going to be way higher than that, because ignite always chooses the highest damage ignite against the target. And so really, you're not going to see double this, but you're going to see quite a bit more than the 350,000 that PoE is showing. Yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about this build. Thanks for watching, I guess. If you have any questions, you can contact me in-game. With the character name for this one is Chillant, but I've made a couple of characters. But if you message Chillant, it should go to me regardless. You can ask questions on the forum. And thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy the build. It's a good time.